Artist Journal, September 24th, 2022, Berlin. My name is Adrian Pocobelli, your artist reporter, with some tradscape music that I'm so happy I bought. I love this music. That's why I bought it. It was 35 Tezos when Tezos was 4 Tezos. It was $4. And so it wasn't cheap. I paid $100 and some for that awesome tradscape music, but worth every penny. And we're going to look at a really cool tradscape this episode. So welcome back. So again, the quality and the just interest. You know, we can all debate the quality on all these works, and I'm not here to tell us this is good and this is bad, but I am here to say this is darn interesting. Okay, this is very interesting, and we just have another one here, which crossed my desk, crossed my Twitter in the last few hours here. I missed it. I was off watching a friend, another just unrecognized talent. I mean, the guy, he's a couple of years older than me, is an insanely good musician. Does this sort of rockabilly thing, but like an incredible guitarist, and basically is unrecognized. But he got the entire, room that wasn't really expecting, one guy on a guitar to rock the entire place, and he did. And so, I mean, just, all this unrecognized talent out there. So it just makes me so happy that stuff like this is going on, because that's a story of, frankly, most artists' lives out here. Okay, and around the world, is basically not getting any recognition because you don't know the right people, and then the right people, et cetera, et cetera. We all know that story. Very quick shout out. Another just cover your eyes if you are don't like flashing images. Die with the most likes. I mean, again, how can you not love this? Die with the most likes. Wanted by Bez. Bez from the Happy Mondays, the official dancer of the Happy Mondays, picked it up for $20, made an offer on secondary. That was awesome. Let me just bring up Bez Happy Mondays 90s. If you don't know who that is, I mean, yeah, he was kind of like this, almost, I want to call him like a totemic figure in the 90s rave scene. He was the official dancer of the Happy Mondays, which was a very important Manchester band. And so anyway, I started this series, 90s Ravers series. And anyway, so thank you to Die With The Most Likes. I mean, you gotta love it. I mean, one of the most exciting artists right now in the entire NFT scene. And he picked one up from Mikey Wilson. And thank you, Mikey, for picking that up, and he's going to come up later in this program. So anyways, let's quickly take a look at the Xander Price work. I had never really heard of Xander Price. It was probably a Mikey Wilson retweet. I think it was. Pretty interesting work. Let's just take a quick close look. Looks like a digital painting. Sorry, we'll get the title here. Painting Xander Price on duty. It looks like a digital painting to me. Sold out really quickly. It looks like it's like Mark Zuckerberg's flat or something, looting the safe, like kind of a cat burglar in a balaclava, the North Face. Okay, maybe you can see that. Nike, so Adidas. So our contemporary clothing that we see often in this scene, which I totally enjoy. Again, an art of the present. And a whole bunch of dollar bills, kind of nicely rendered in what would almost be like oil painting style. A pretty nice portrait of Mark Zuckerberg, I have to say. I've never seen that portrait. I wonder if Xander made that portrait, like with, putting Mark Zuckerberg's face on some banker or something, because it's actually quite a striking portrait in here. And you can tell it's been taken down and that the safe is behind the portrait. A really cool work. I wish I could have picked it up, but I was off supporting my friend, and he who tore the house down yesterday at this, I don't remember what it's called, Kunker House in Berlin at the top of some mall in Neukölln. Maybe you've been there. So anyways, here's Xander Price's work. Die with, like, you see how small this is? Like, Just love it. I love it. I mean, here's a tribute to Die with the Most Likes, a fan token of the Meat King. So, I mean, I'm not even trying to make these connections here. And we see it again later on here with Pixel Nachos and LB. Remember they're side by side? I'd forgotten they'd collaborated. So I continue to be amazed by how small this scene continues to be. So Xander Price, I gave him a follow, because I don't want to miss any more of these. That one was awesome. And actually, before we go, I just want to show you the buying history because it's actually pretty interesting. So 7 Tezos and 10 cents. Terasma, Mikey Wilson, Purple Drank, Levon. So you kind of see a who's who here. Polly Jojo, Flexosaurus Rex. Vincent Van Doe made an offer for it later for 30. So he's always one to pay attention to. And Shilly the Kid. Wow. Did he buy that? For 60? Wow. So that's pretty cool. Wow, so just sold for 60. I mean, we're not even 24 hours later. We're barely 12 hours later. So again, very, very healthy scene here. New work by Mota MT, and we saw Mota's work with the border piece, and so he's got a pretty ambitious digital oil painting here. And just kind of, again, like there's a lot going on here. You see these ninjas in the background, the Tezos guys, modern contemporary clothing, pretty nice rendering of the mountains here. Kind of a randomness put together with just kind of, mixed with brushwork on top. So just an interesting, moody scene. I mean, you see the Vanguard, I guess, is coming here. And again, you see Louis Vuitton. That was the name of the Strange Thing work, or the design on Strange Things work the other day. A couple of people wrote comments on that. Got to get my designer brands right here. So Louis Vuitton, and on a carpet, which is kind of reminiscent of Sumi. So, and on the grass. So just loaded with symbolism here. I mean, just loaded with symbolism. Similar to our previous work here. So some very provocative, interesting work. Okay, that's what I wanted to point out. Now here, our guy, Louis Osborne, has put his first drop on Super Rare. So I thought this might be fun to check in on. So here is the work. You can tell it's a little more ambitious in the sense that there's a lot going on, kind of reminiscent of Gogolitis, who we haven't talked about and who actually has frankly disappeared a little bit from the scene. Let me bring up Gogolitis for those that don't know. I mean, I'm tempted to just give him his own episode because he did some really awesome work. I mean, the last one he does these kind of little factory images. I mean, July 12th. So, and he was doing quite fabulously. So who knows what happens? Let me show you actually some earlier work that I would show this to people at parties or at art openings when they'd ask me about NFTs. I would show them stuff like this or this. Here, this one was classic. You know, if you don't have your Gogolitis, now might be a nice quiet time to pick up Gogolitis. See, like the Super Mario. What is the name of this? Mystery Box Factory, edition of 40. Get it for 10. I mean, again, just like really cool. Like, I mean, don't forget, this is a GIF, right? I mean, is this a GIF? Yeah, it's a GIF. Like, it's not a video. This is just a GIF. So is this. Not to get too off course here, but you kind of see this factory business stuff. And he actually has some more that are actually even more. Let me just quickly go to some of his first works because you'll see this similarity here. Stuff like this. Okay, this is what I wanted to point out. Buy for 22. Do I own this? This is like his early work. I might have to pick this up. So again, you see this kind of factory business. And now we go back to our guy. So kind of in the similar genre, similar motif, similar concept, but different. And so his Genesis work, I used to not couldn't care less what a Genesis work is, but it's part of the NFT culture. So now I pay attention to it and care. So he's at 1.2 ETH, and this brings up a really interesting thing. So I was like, he started at 0.5, which is pretty cheap on super rare for kind of such a kind of hot artist. And I thought, maybe it's just a brilliant strategy though, because probably the worst thing that could happen to Louis Osborne is he puts it up for 1 or 1.5 and nobody does anything. Nobody bids on it. It's much better to put it at 0.5 and then each time someone bids, it kind of goes into everybody's newsfeed that follows him, or like they tend to spread auctions and bids on auctions quite well on super rare. I'm still kind of figuring that out, but I was like, oh, auctions. And then I also looked at the super rare bot yesterday, and I also noticed a lot of what's selling are auctions. So, you know, as people, because a lot of people struggle, I haven't made a sale on super rare for probably 6 months or something. So I was thinking, oh, maybe I should be doing auctions and not just waiting for someone to show up. So interesting, okay? And here we go. Another work, Mikey Wilson discovered. Let me just bring it up here. I think I actually maybe pre-brought it up. So this is by Evil Machine, and they have a really cool kind of Apple Watch work. Again, kind of this contemporary illustration. So I'm going to follow Louis Osborne. Hopefully tomorrow I'll remember, and we'll see what it goes for. So it's at like 1.2 right now. So interesting work, kind of critical. So kind of we're almost against this person against technology theme that we saw with GloomTube and the self-checkout. The time is as relative as this work. So there's some colorful language in here, so I'll leave it here. So cool work. I mean, stands out by Evil Machine. Also, Purple Drank is releasing part 4 of his pretty cool Pepe series, which he's practically giving away. I mean, it's for mint price, and this will go to people that already have part 3. So make sure you're staying on top of that. And some people have extra, so if you need one, maybe put out a tweet. Feels good, man. So I love his Pepe work. And finally, well, not finally, we actually have quite a bit to go through here. Cube House, Side Hustle put out a couple of more cubes, so I thought we could take a quick look. What I call these palazzos here. So part 3, and you see the lines at the bottom. So variations on the ground, kind of a blue theme. Here's a very colorful theme. Again, just pixels on the ground and more of a colorful sort of theme here. So just variations on what I call a palazzo, the cube house that I thought we could. And he also left a really nice tweet yesterday. He was happy to be on the program here. Me and my GLB featured in the journal by Pocobelli. This is such a cool thing he's doing. I recommend everyone to check it out. Thank you, Pixel Nachos. I love your work, and so it means a lot to hear that, and I'm glad that you're glad to be on it, and everybody's happy here, so that's wonderful. Thank you for that. I was mentioning, I think I mentioned this at the top, Tradscape has a new work. Gallery, remember this gallery that's been Jeannot Lapin? And you saw a few tweets about it maybe a day or two ago. I had missed this. This work by Tradscape. Kind of a French-Canadian canoe thing. And Jeannot Lapin Galleries in Montreal. So pretty cool. This might be slightly lower resolution than the original. This is on Foundation, interestingly. So we've delved a little bit into Ethereum today. Yeah, so anyways, just an interesting Tradscape work. Again, if I didn't mention it, he did music at the top of the program there, which I love. It was meant to be, that song. So yeah, Jeannot Lapin Gallery continues its move into the NFT space. Just kind of an interesting work here by Geek. A little bit of outrageousness here and there. What I found interesting, among other things, a few things, but this was one of these kind of tracks with, it's like a minute long and there's like music, right? So it's like a nightclub. And this is almost like a genre unto itself that's developing. Sorry, I screwed up the drop there. Sorry, geek. And that is how you pronounce it. He left a comment, so thank you for that. Anyway, just wanted to profile that. You can watch the whole thing on the Vanguard nightclub. So Vanguard is back. Again, one of these groups, like the creme du creme. Very interesting work here from someone called Estelle Flores. This is an FX hash, and we've barely touched FX hash on this show. But a really cool 1-bit kind of diary with kind of like this video game writing at the bottom that you'd see in like something like King's Quest or something in the 80s or 90s. And I think I brought it up here. Mountaineering Diary Entries by Estelle Flores. What is the floor here? $5.50 you can get one of these. I think pretty cool. Just a cool concept and just executed really nicely. So I don't cover a ton of FX hash, but when they turn my head, that one turned my head. On to AI. We continue our coverage here. So a new work by Red Rum. What is this called? Meeting It. This was minted yesterday. Following the Light is not always the wisest choice. Red Rum, edition of 10, sold out. And let's see how fast. Listed at 820 and sold out by 941 at 15 Tezos each. So pretty good. And yeah, so cool work. Interesting to see how this develops. Not entirely red here. It's got the complementary color green. So that's fun to watch. Another interesting work, another moody work in AI by Clown Vamp. This came out a couple of days ago, September 22nd, edition of 100, being listed for 39. So this is called The Conspiracy. So a pretty cool AI work by Clown Vamp. Okay, so just sort of taking us through what's happening on AI. Another work by Wasteman Goldminovich that turned my head here. He's selling it for 0.25 Tez. It's almost like a shoe store meets the Vermeer Strange Things sort of thing. Here's the Vermeer window, what we're calling the Vermeer window. Pretty nicely done. So interesting, beautiful color. Has that kind of, again, Flemish oil painting, that brightness of oils. I mean, that is almost unparalleled. You almost have to go to the screen, but otherwise in the history of art, these luminescent oils, and when you see them in real life from the 15th or 16th century, whether it's Raphael or the Flemish sort of oil painters, who is it? Is it Van Dyck, the one we were looking at that was in the Louvre with the portrait that kind of Strange Things work reminded me of? Anyway, these kind of very luminescent works, when you see them in person, they're some of the brightest, most saturated colors you'll ever see. That's why oil painting, in my opinion, has been so popular over the centuries. It's literally the brightness of the color and just like the richness. Okay. Continuing on, Eddie Tree with what I think are AI works. Remember, he's the guy who did the Impressionist work. So we're seeing him move on a little bit into this kind of quite beautiful sci-fi imagery, something you'd see in like astounding or astonishing, like these pulp fictions from the 1940s. I used to work in a used bookstore, so I'm actually kind of familiar with these. Another one by Eddie Tree. Interesting surrealist work. So again, this must be AI. It sure looks like it, and the speed of the production. We're kind of back to our old concerns here. Here's one more, and then we'll look at... so you see, he's going in a bit of a sci-fi direction. Again, it reminds me of those pulps from the 40s and 50s. Like, God, I can't even remember what they're called. Like, astonishing. And, J.G. Ballard, who we talk about sometimes, that's where he started, or in these sci-fi pulps, these little, we'll look at those closer at a certain point. So you see, he was doing the really interesting impressionist works that I kept going back to because they were quite well done. And now we're seeing a bit of a move into this kind of surrealist sci-fi direction. So continues to be interesting with Eddie Tree. Another AI artist, Danielle King, and she's doing very AI mashups. She's being very clear about it. Annie times Mary, an imagined collaboration between Annie Albers and Mary Cassatt. Now, Mary Cassatt is an impressionist, a woman impressionist. Annie Albers, I actually don't know. I assume it's a famous artist, maybe a photographer. I don't know. I should know. Midjourney. So I obviously need to get better at Midjourney because I don't get results anything like this while I'm drinking a beer at the bar. So maybe I need to put a little more effort there. And another one. Okay. I mean, they're pretty provocative works. Again, like interesting. I just keep like, this is the last 24 hours again, I think, or maybe this isn't. Yeah. September 24th, September 23rd. Like, I mean, it's the 24th today. This was released today. Okay. So yeah, no shortage of interesting things. And finally, Sumi Ray put out another artist studio. So again, this is more combining, what seems to be traditional painters with modern settings or whatever she's doing. I don't know what Sumi's doing, but they're always interesting. Room 14 available for 3 Tezos. And with that, let's leave it there. Until next time, take care.